The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB TV. Hot topics, food, fun, entertainment, and serious business. Live Las Vegas with Rikki Cheese.
You know, you cannot go wrong. What do they say? Don't follow kids and dogs and pets. So, of course, we're going to start out with a pet. We've got, later on in the show, we've got a pet lover, Neal Portnoy, illustrator to the stars and all things dog-related. I just found out today he does amazing work with high-grade Sharpies. Yeah, for those of you like me who think that you can do stuff with Sharpies, oh no, baby. You got to see Neal's work. It is amazing. And his work that he does for dogs, just in time for the holidays. People like me, if you're thinking about buying me something for Christmas, we got some gifts for you, and it's going to come up in just a few minutes. But getting it all started is Amy Clatterbuck of the Clatterbuck Inn. She specializes in rescuing pit puppies who have all sorts of medical conditions. Now, the last time she was on this show, she had members of, this is
the Pines for Pits puppies.
Pines for Pits puppies.
Bud.
This is
Bud.
Bud.
He's the last one looking for a home.
Yes, and they were so tiny and so adorable, and he's still tiny and he's adorable. He's only 5 months old.
5 months.
Oh my gosh. So this is also, we're going to talk about a couple of things on this show. So important for people, those of you who are like me, you have escape artists who get out. You have got to know what to do if your dog gets lost. Some very simple things to do. And also, anybody who's thinking about getting a pet for somebody as a Christmas present, we got some do's and don'ts and some things that you can talk about. So Amy Clatterbuck from the Nugget Inn, thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
How many little pit puppies and puppies in general, because you don't just do pit puppies, you do puppies of different breeds.
Yeah, we don't discriminate at the Nugget Inn, absolutely not. Mostly nuggets though,
yeah,
because
sure.
that's what my passion is.
And why do you call your pits nuggets?
Just because I think it's, you know, sometimes the pit bull type dog has a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you call them nuggets, that kind of erases that, and then the person gets to know the animal and, you know, views them in a different light.
Right. And Neal was up here just a few moments ago, just petting and being licked by this beautiful little pit puppy. There are so many misconceptions about pits, and I really thank you for being on the show, because I think that there needs to be an advocate, a rational advocate for pits out there. I know, because I'm so involved in the pet world, you do, Neal and Dorothy know, his wife, that there are unfortunately misconceptions that get spread as if they are truths, and it takes people becoming involved with the breed to see the truth. It's not the breed.
Absolutely.
How are they raised?
You just have to educate yourself, and then through educating ourselves, we can empower other people to, you know, think differently. Yeah,
and a lot of my friends who started out as my trainers, and that's how they become friends, because once you get in the dog world, you're just basically hanging around with people who have dogs. One of my best trainers, Renee Declouet, who is at the PetSmart out there on 215 in Durango, she told me very early on, she says, we don't really train dogs. We train owners to take care of their pets, and there's a big difference there.
Oh, absolutely. You can train a dog to sit and lay down and roll over, but to teach a dog to constantly behave is based on you and your behavior and you being in charge.
Right, right. So let's talk about this some. I'm very fortunate in my neighborhood. I've got a lot of people who I call them the dog rescue group.
Yes.
They are on my short list of people who Rikki's dogs are out, and they're down the street, and so whenever I pick up my phone, I can see by caller ID, it's Akira. You know, because she only goes to two. She likes to go swim in the one neighbor's yard because she's got a pool, and then the one across the street because she has tortillas. Akira's very selective in where she goes. Now, if Apollo's still in when she escapes, she won't go far. But if she can, they both get free. The last escape, they were like 2 streets down across Jones, and I didn't recognize the number. And this woman says, "I've got Akira and Apollo." I said, "Where do you live?" And she said, "Really?" They were on tour. Now, I don't get that upset because my dogs are microchipped and they have collars. Let's talk about, for those folks out there who don't realize how important that is.
Well, it's first off, the most responsible pet owner, like yourself, can lose a dog. They get out, they're escape artists, accidents happen. The best
Somebody leaves the door open, the pool guy comes, he doesn't realize they're in the backyard.
Happens a lot. Contractors come in the back door, back gate's left open. A lot of times dogs are stolen out of people's yards too. So first and foremost, microchipping your pet is absolute must.
Now explain the process to people, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that this is like a painful, long process.
It's like the size of a grain of rice, and it goes underneath the surface of the skin and underneath the shoulder blade. And it stays there. It can migrate a little bit, but I mean, there's no pain. They don't need any kind of anesthesia to put it in.
Right.
There's little
I smell like liver.
There's
right
little
now.
to no complaints from the dogs after it happens, as far as soreness and things like that.
Right.
But not just the microchip being implanted, up-to-date information on the microchip. You can have a microchip in your dog and they can have a permanent ID number, but unless your information, your current information is available, we could scan the dog, but we're not going to be able to get the dog back to you.
Right.
So if you move, call the chip company, change your address. If you change your phone number, call them and let them know that you have a change of phone number. That's the best bet on getting your dog back. Plus, it's kind of IDing your dog. If your dog is stolen and somebody else has your dog, that's when the police will get involved, because he might jump, because he is considered your property.
Well, I actually had an incident where I used to take my dog to this one yard where there were like a lot of really beefy guys when I had Sean, and Sean was like 130 pounds when he became an adult. And one day I'm there at the park, and this guy rolls up and he says, "That's King. Where did you get King?" I was like, "No, this is Sean. I don't know who King is." The man melted down on me. He was convinced I had his dog that had escaped. And so I'm saying, no, really, this is Sean. I don't know who King is. This is Sean. Do you know it took the microchip? It took me I keep my vet records in my car for that reason. I said, no, trust me. I can prove that this is my dog.
Yeah, it's a permanent pet ID.
But he was convinced I had his dog. And I really felt for him, although I was really frustrated. But I could see from his standpoint, but King was not microchipped.
Right.
And so he realized that now in the future, you get another dog, now you can see how vital this is.
Exactly.
You could have tracked who actually did have your dog.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. I mean, when a lost dog goes into the shelter, if they don't have a microchip, then we're just hoping that within the 72 hours they come down and physically check the shelter, which you should do if you lose a pet. That should be one of the first things you do.
So that's the first thing, is call the shelter. And I'm amazed at how many people don't. I do a lot of rescue in my neighborhood, and my latest one was a beautiful white German Shepherd, which is rare anyway. So I was just kind of wandering up and down Jones, no microchip, no collar, and the only reason why I knew where that dog lived was because he led me back to his house.
Right.
And so, and he was like so calm and sitting in the driveway. I thought, okay. And so I left a note and took him back to my house, put a collar on him, took him back there, secured him, and then the owners finally called. But I asked him, I said, "Do you have a microchip?" "No." But he didn't even have a collar. I said, if he didn't take me back to your house, and a lot of people wouldn't have even had because I am so grateful for people who've saved my dogs.
Right. A lot of people won't take them to the shelter, which they have to be reported by ordinance. They have to be reported to the Animal Foundation. But they don't want to do that because they have misconceptions about the shelter.
Tell me about that, because a lot of people don't understand how this works.
Well, let's focus on the number of stray animals that entered the Animal Foundation just in the month of October of this year. Just under 1,600 cats and dogs came in as strays. Whether they came in by the public, me finding a dog and bringing it in, or with animal control. Just under 1,000 of those were dogs.
Wow.
Exactly. So think about if all of these dogs had up-to-date microchip information, they could go home within the 72 hours that they are under the municipal shelter's control. Because after that 72 hours, they move to adoptions. So if you have a cute little Yorkie or a cute little poodle that's not microchipped, and 72 hours is up, that dog is adopted by the time the shelter opens on that adoption day.
White Shepherds are rare.
Very rare.
When I found the dog had been missing. I talked to the owners for 2 days, and she told me that they went to take the trash out and the dog got free. I'm not judging her, but I thought, you waited 2 days and they hadn't gone down to the shelter. So now my next question was, where was this dog? This dog was at somebody's house. They probably kept them, because I'm not going to lie.
Well, and if you
I looked at her. It was really a gorgeous dog. I thought, if they don't claim you, darling, I'm going to adopt you.
Right. Well, that's the thing too, is that you don't have to physically report the dog to the Animal Foundation. I know a lot of people work 2 jobs, and they have children and they can't get down within the opening hours. There's a link on the Animal Foundation website that you can put in the dog's information, post up a picture, and it goes to Pet Harbor. So if I lose my dog, I can go on Pet Harbor, and I can even see there is a German Shepherd en route from, I mean, I'm Henderson, but en route from, you know, certain cross streets or, you know, the 5900 block of East Sahara.
Okay.
So you would know, hey, that's my boy, and I can head down to the shelter, or let the shelter know that they have one of my dog that's on one of their trucks.
Right.
So there's just so many things. Social media is huge, but I know a lot of people don't use social media.
Sure.
But if you do have social media, I mean, Craigslist is good for not just the unfortunate selling and buying of puppies, but for lost and found. You can post that you have found a dog. Nextdoor app on your every neighborhood has the Nextdoor app.
Right.
You can let them know there. There's a Lost and Found Dogs of Las Vegas in Henderson, and Lost Dogs of Las Vegas are huge. When it comes to the social media reporting dogs. I mean, I have a great admin list of people that work night and day. I just sit back and I watch these people, match up dogs and talk to owners. And these are strangers that they're caring for.
Sure.
Me alone, I've hung over 1,000 flyers for strangers.
Wow. Right.
Print them, and I had one instance where I went to Office Depot and I was printing flyers of a husky that was found. So when you find or lose a dog, a flyer is imperative.
Yes, yeah.
So I was printing them, and the lady at Home Depot looked at the dog and, oh, I'm sorry about your dog. And I said, it's for a stranger, but we want to get this dog home. And I guess the owners of the dog were at Home Depot after me, and they were printing a flyer of a lost husky. And she said there was a woman here printing a flyer. And she actually went back in and looked at the flyer, and he was able to call the number and get his husky back.
Fantastic.
So flyers are so huge. Go door to door. Dogs usually stay within 2 mile radius of their home. We don't know our neighbors like we used to. We've grown up here in Las Vegas. I mean, I've always known my neighbors, but not everybody does that.
Right.
Your dog could be 4 houses down. I mean, if it's a huge shepherd, maybe you would notice that was there. But if it's a little tiny Yorkie, you're not going to know that it's inside.
Well, when I call them frick and frack, when Apollo and Akira got out, it was a date July 3rd, the escape before this one, they went next door. What it was they got out of the backyard of my brother-in-law's backyard, and then they were trying to get back into the house, but they literally went next door. So this man opens the door, and there's these 2 beasts sitting there. He brings them inside and gets in the car and goes looking for me all the way across US 95.
Oh my goodness.
And we were literally next door. But then again, as panicked as I was, I knew at the end of the day, because I'm riding all over the neighborhood screaming, has anyone seen 2 horses, black and white horses running up and down, fur and fangs? And nobody saw them, and so I knew that they probably, I thought, had been picked up by animal control, because dogs that large somebody would see. But they were literally inside this guy's living room and hanging out. But I was relieved to know that, okay, if they did get picked up, they're microchipped, even if their collars have come off, because that's another thing. Now, another aspect we talked to when you were on the last time, taking pictures of your dog.
Yes.
I realized when we were talking about that, I had face shots of both of them. I didn't have body shots.
Yes.
And
you
so
definitely
you need to have your whole dog, because a lot of dogs have the same faces. What does your dog's body look like with their tails?
Well, and I know with just matching up found dogs with lost flyers and stuff, I do a 10-point check. I have their paws. I even count the nails, how many are black, how many are pink, the tip of the tail on him. He's got the full collar around. Some of my puppies have had snooze buttons. I mean, so you have to kind of just know your dog. I mean, you have pictures of your children. Right. So have pictures of up-to-date pictures of your dog.
Yes, up-to-date pictures.
So many times people say, my dog got out, and they have a puppy picture, and the dog is like 9. It's like that. They don't look anything like each other. So up-to-date information. Also, claiming your dog if it is found at the shelter, having your shot records, your rabies certificate, which is the law, absolutely necessary. Having any kind of vet records to identify that is your dog, if say it's not microchipped and you see it there. But have that information so that your fees are lower.
Yes.
If your dog gets out, it's not neutered, you don't have records of shots and rabies, you can pay up to $200 to get that dog out. Sometimes even more, depending on the jurisdiction, depending on which animal control picked it up. So just having all that in order will help you too, because they do accidentally get out. You could accidentally leave the gate open when you mow the lawn, but your pool guy, like you said, air condition, anybody that has access to your backyard, that's why it should always be locked. But anybody that has access, it can accidentally happen. So if you put your ducks in a row, and hopefully animal control is continuing to do their great job of getting them off the streets
Absolutely.
and safely to the shelter. You know, then people can get their animals back.
And you also should know what your animals are capable of. People laugh. Not this latest escape, the one before that, when they were found on 2 streets down across Jones. How did they get out? I said, well, I had this thought a couple of weeks prior. Akira loves to open doors. She can open any door. And I had this thought, I wonder if Akira can open the front door. Then, nah, that's not happening. That's exactly it. She'd figured it out. And I'll watch them sometimes. She and Apollo will sit there, and I always watch where they're looking to see what's the plan, because I know it's a plan. And she said, the woman found her name is Patty. Thank you, Patty. Thank you. She said, yeah, I just saw them. They were just trotting down the street, and she called them over, and I think they probably thought a treat was involved, and so they kind of trotted over. And I'm thinking, how did they get out? Oh, yeah.
She opened the door.
So she found so now I've got to, that's the next baby proof thing that I have to do to make sure she can't do that.
Or if you have young children who open the door, you have a
Yes.
baby gate in area, so it just deters them. Training a dog to not go near the door when the doorbell rings and opens and closes is very possible. It's very easy to do.
Yeah.
But deterring them from the front door and things like that. I mean, dogs get lost by just slipping out of their collars sometimes while on a walk.
I've had that happen too.
And a big thing, which I don't know why owners continue to do it, if I see another dog lost in Bryce Canyon, I'm going to lose my mind.
Why is that?
They love to hike, yes.
Yes.
But put them on a long lead. Go to the horse tack place and get like a 50-foot lead for them. If they're spooked or they see a squirrel, they're gone. And they don't always come back because they can fall. We had a dog running and take off and fell off a cliff.
Sure.
And people say, my dog would never leave my side. Well, anything will if they get spooked. They will, and it happens all of the time. So just follow leash laws and keep your dogs on leash.
Or Sean's big thing was lizards for some reason. He wasn't that big on rabbits, but if he saw a lizard, it was just gone. And maybe because we didn't have a lot of lizards.
Right.
And so I learned the hard way those long leashes are critical. And I know a lot of people. In the best case scenario, your dog is not going to run away.
Right.
But as you said, if it does run away,
a car could backfire.
how are you going to find it?
Yeah. Because they just take off and they're scared.
Yeah.
And it happens so often. I mean, we're lucky that we do have people that go up and hike and they search. We have great trappers sometimes that will go out and help. But if you just keep your dog on leash, it's not gonna happen.
Right. And now around the holidays too, when you have so many people coming and going, you've got so much more activity.
Right.
For folks to just kind of keep in mind that this is new for your dog. If your dog's not used to a lot of people being in his or her space, all kinds of things can go sour.
Well, it's the hustle and bustle of the holidays. We spend less time with them because we're out shopping or working extra hours. So they can get bored. And if your dog has access to a doggy door or something and they feel like jumping the wall because mom hasn't been home. It happens.
Right.
So you just have to.
Or they want to go for a swim in your neighbor's pool.
Exactly. Tortillas across the street. You have to just keep in mind that they're falling under Christmas stresses as well. So you just got to keep them safe. You got to keep them safe.
Well, let's talk about the holidays and giving pets as presents.
Oh, no. Okay. Where should we start?
Because I know you go through a very rigorous process with your puppies.
Yes.
You can't just show up at the Nugget Inn and get a puppy.
No.
You've got to be vetted.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, the thing is with Christmas time, a lot of people do want to have that cute little puppy in a box or in a bow under the Christmas tree. And, they don't understand that their young children don't really have the capacity, the emotional care what it takes to take care of a puppy. It's like a toy at that point, and the novelty does wear off.
Right. So if you're getting a puppy for a child, the adult needs to know that this is their puppy.
They need to know that it has to be a family thing. I mean, they have to get together and say what breed is best for them. If you have young children, you definitely don't want a hyperactive dog, maybe not one that's too large. Shopping around for a dog with your family is good, and walking them and doing that kind of thing. Surprising your family with a dog, I just don't think is a very good idea.
Right.
Now, if somebody was to surprise me with a dog, that would be okay because of what I do.
Sure.
But then again, I'm surprised with puppies all the time at the Nugget Inn. But it's, for people that you're thinking you want to get a puppy for because you think they need one, have that conversation. Do they think they need one?
Right.
Do they really have the time? Do they have the financial ability to take care of the dog? Not just shots and dentals and things like that, but in case an emergency comes up.
Right.
If you insisting on doing something dog related, get him a dog owning a dog, or get them a book about owning a dog.
Sure.
You know, get them, or, you know, maybe have the conversation with them that, you know, when you're ready for a dog, I'd love to help you pick one out.
Right.
I have some great rescues in mind, you know, that kind of thing. Don't just surprise them with one, because it's not, it's not just because you think it's a good idea, it's not always a good idea. And, you know, we see the shelters flooded with puppies in January and February because the kids no longer care about it. It's still eating your shoes, it's still peeing on your floor, and you just don't have time. And that's no longer the cute puppy with the bow on it under the Christmas tree. And so our Animal Foundation is loaded, and I know the Henderson Shelter as well, loaded with what we call Christmas puppies.
Right.
And we just gear up for this time of year for it, because we know it's going to happen.
I know.
And some of these puppies are puppies that are bought at stores, boutique stores, and they spend tons of money on them for Christmas. So it doesn't matter how much they paid for the dog.
Right.
If they don't want the dog, they just take it to the shelter and then get rid of it.
Number one, two things we've touched on here. First of all, being able to identify your dog if it does get out. The second thing is to take into account, in fact, just before, because you guys know how I am, I have an intervention team of my girlfriend trainers and my neighbors who every time they see me going, I want a puppy, they're like, no, stop it. Stop it. You remember what happened when you got the last two puppies. I know, but they're so cute. And I'm as susceptible as the next person, and so I have to be reminded of the amount of time, the amount of care, the amount of destruction. Apollo recently, he's not a shoe eater. He has decided that he wants to eat just the rubber part of the shoelaces. Yeah, so he will go and just get one shoe at a time, pull it out, and just go to work on the shoelace. Now, in the overall scheme of life, they've eaten everything they can eat. My house pretty much is pretty, you know, it's mostly dog toys. But if you have delicate furniture, or you've got stuff that's chewable, I mean, you've got one of these are one of those almost like Kong-like indestructible dog toys. You got to take into account that they chew. That's what puppies do. They don't mean to be destructive. They are growing and they chew. And they pee, and they poop, and they whine.
And with the holiday season especially, I mean, I look at a Christmas tree, since I have a lot of puppies that I foster, I look at a Christmas tree and I just see a choking hazard. You know, I know growing up we had all kinds of candy dishes around the house. We had, you know, seasonally my mom would always get the mixed nuts with the nutcracker. And that was our holiday thing where it would just be laid out. And, you know, you can't do that if you have dogs that can get onto tables and things like stuff.
And he's doing that.
He's like, I'm gonna escape. I'm gonna escape. No, but I mean,
so also the food, and let's talk about food and treats that are left going, even for folks who they're not getting puppies, but they already have dogs. The things that you leave out to eat. We had this one, it's a horrific cheese family Thanksgiving story. People were sitting around, they were drinking the whole 9 yards, and then all of a sudden, one of the kids just kind of falls out. Well, what was happening was the dogs were going from glass to glass to glass, just sipping.
Taking a sip here and there.
They were taking a sip.
And it has the same effect on them as it does.
To leave their glass on the coffee table, that the dogs would do that, and they were so cool about it. Nobody was catching them, but they were like a little lip here and a little nick there.
Alcohol has the same effect on animals as it does on humans, on their brains and on their livers and on their kidneys. So even in small doses, dogs can be lightweights, I guess. You know, I guess you could say.
So you've got the liquor, then you've got the candy, and you've got the...
Candy's really important, because you think a little bit of sugar, I mean, it's not great for their diet, but these days a lot of candies use xylitol, which is a death sentence for animals. I mean, a sugar-free piece of gum with xylitol in it can literally
I just found out about that recently. Who thought? Right.
Yeah, and it's mostly sugar-free things, but I mean, it's out there. It's in a lot of things, and unless you have that bag handy and you find a candy cane in your dog's mouth, you don't know if it has xylitol or anything. So you got to keep those things up. I always put candy canes on my Christmas tree. I don't have a Christmas tree anymore, but if I did, definitely wouldn't put candy on it, just because of the choking dangers and that xylitol danger. But then you have your you have all kinds of sweets hanging around. You know, your Christmas food, pork products, and turkey can cause pancreatitis.
And if your dog's like one girlfriend, her dogs are allergic to grain. And so she was out of town for a couple of days, and somebody mistakenly fed one of the dogs food that had grain in it. Rashes all over his body. And it was just awful. And I did something that you told me about. Put coconut oil on
Absolutely,
yeah. But it was something so small, it didn't occur to her that there might be a mistake in the feeding. It had a big impact.
Well, and that's just the thing, too. If you start giving your dog random foods and they do break out, you don't know what caused that allergy. You know, so You just want to keep it to a minimal. If you want them to have some turkey, boil them some turkey. Make sure there's no seasonings, things like that. You want them to participate in your holiday meal. But things like nutmeg and pumpkin pie, that's, it can cause hallucinations in animals.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and some people think, it's just a little whipped cream with some nutmeg on it. No, it's not.
No.
It's going to make them sick.
Yeah.
And so we just want to keep them safe. I mean, they'll give you the googly eyes and they'll beg for it, but they'll take no for an answer. Just don't give it to them.
Okay, so really quickly, as of course a pet parent yourself, if I'm going to buy a present for you, and I just a little, if you're going to buy something for me, think about the dogs. What are the presents that you appreciate the most?
A portrait from Neal.
Yeah.
Would be fantastic. Anything nugget related. I have so many. I need to stop the one-click buy on Amazon when it comes to shirts because I see a T-shirt and it has a pit bull on it and I'm like, click. I'm like, oh no, it's on its way.
Right.
But I love things like that. I love necklaces. Anything dog related or rescue related. I have so many little wooden plaques around the house that say, rescue's my favorite breed, or I rescue dogs from shelters and wine from bottles. Certain things like that.
Yeah.
So, if you know me as a dog person, anything dog related, just not another dog. Living, breathing gifts are not suggested.
If somebody would like to adopt, and you have to go on her website, it's just amazing. We've been showing you some pictures too. She has amazing dogs, but again, you have to be prepared. She takes you through the whole process. Not anybody can just get a nugget-in dog. You've got to go through the process. But if they do want to go through the process, they want to come and work with you, how do they contact you? And then also, what follow-up do you do to make sure that this adoption is working out well?
Well, we do, in the beginnings, first off, this is Bud. He is with Animal Help Alliance. He's the only one of the Pints for Pits puppies that's still looking for a home. He's 5 months old. He was just neutered last week. He's up to date on shots. And he, as you can see, is just, yes, I'm talking about him. Yeah. He's just a sweet pea. You would fill out an interest application on animalhelpalliance.org. And then you go through the process. We check your home. We, if you have another animal, we do meet and greets, and then we start a 2-week trial sleepover.
Sure.
Because, the first day the dog could be fine, but 4 days it's settled in, and now it's ready to cause some destruction or something because it's a puppy. So 2 weeks is a good period of time for the family to get adjusted, because the first 2 nights you might be sleep deprived and be like, I don't want this puppy because I'm not sleeping. But once the puppy settles in, sleeping starts happening again, and your patterns get back to normal. So 2 weeks is really good for that. And within those 2 weeks, if they contact us and say it's not working out, no questions asked, bring that baby back to us, and we'll find it a home, and then we'll find you a dog that's appropriate for your family. So it doesn't shun you from rescues. It actually we appreciate that input. So that's the process to get one of these babies, and it should be a vetted process like that. It shouldn't just be like, oh, you think he's cute, here you go. Right. Because we want to know where these animals are. I have the luxury of 58 fosters so far, and I would say at least 55 of them I'm in contact with monthly. So, they love to post pictures on Facebook, or they follow, Instagram, or I'll see them at rescue events with the dogs and stuff. So it's really, I've become friends with the adopters. So it's really neat.
And the Animal Foundation, we've talked about this on quite a few shows. I really want to emphasize this. The Animal Foundation does this great program now where you can come and basically kind of take a dog. For a lot of people who aren't really quite sure if this is what they want to do, they can go down, pick out a dog, and take it home. It's good for the dogs, for socialization, but for somebody who's not sure, see what it's like to have a dog in your home. Because, and something as simple as, this is one of the the banes of my existence, having to explain to someone that I have to get home. Well, why do you have to get home? Because I've got babies. And so dogs. A lot of times people just go, they think I have like human kids, but if they find out they're dogs, they'll say, well, they're just dogs. No, I haven't seen them all day, and you wouldn't say that to me if I had 2-legged kids. Right. Like, oh, I want to get home. I want to. Plus, it's part of. I didn't get a dog just to put them in the backyard.
Exactly.
I got them to be part of my
family.
Life.
They're pack dogs.
Yes.
They're pack animals. They need us. You shove them outside, and they're not gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna be living their best life, and that's what we want them to be doing.
Yeah, we want them to be happy, and that's why we have them. So we got Neal over on the side, and he's like making all these faces, and the dog is loving him. But Neal already has a puppy baby. I'm sorry. I know, it's like, no. Thank you, Amy, for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and hopefully, and here's another thing, too. If you have items to donate, Oh, this is the woman that you can contact as well. So if you've got leashes or you have all the puppy stuff that your puppy's no longer a puppy, she can also help you distribute that stuff.
Yes.
Because one of the things I
realized into other rescues.
Once I started hanging out with her and Sam Radcliffe of Vegas Rock Dog, I'm one of those people who I buy every little thing, just like you. So I went and I found, I mean, a ton of, when did I buy all those leashes? And why did I buy all those collars? And then there was one point where I went into PetSmart and they had these pink fuchsia collars with the leads. Yeah. So I bought one and I took it home and I put it on them and they looked at me like, Rikkitas. Yeah. Really? Take them back. And so I did, but I would have held on to them, but I didn't realize I had accumulated so much, especially puppy stuff. They're never going to use it again.
Yeah.
Toys are never going to use again.
Tons of rescues in Las Vegas that will use that stuff. I would help you get that stuff to me to give to the rescues. Or even our shelters.
Yeah.
Can
and
use
blankets and towels and all kinds of stuff. Bowls. So if you've got things that you're not using, get rid of them, especially if you know you're not going to get another
And you know,
puppy.
since it is the giving season, and if you want to start giving dog-related things to anybody,
please.
Rescues have wish lists on Amazon.
Yes.
You can go onto the Animal Help Alliance wish list and donate puppy food, and next thing you know, it'll be at our doorstep. You know, so
Fantastic.
it's just such easy thing. You know, that one-click thing I was talking about. It's easy to donate. Definitely
it
easy
really
to donate.
is. Well, thank you for being on again, you guys. Microchip. It's like so, and keep an eye out. We just had a free microchip clinic like a couple of weeks ago.
Always happening.
Always happening. So it doesn't cost you anything. And I tell you what, in the overall scheme of life, God forbid your dog ever does get out, but if you got the ones like me, you know better. But a lot of people are under the misperception that this is some sort of painful, expensive process. What's more expensive and painful? You not getting your dog back.
I know owners that say it was the best $20 they've ever spent.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays
You
to all
too.
the nuggets.
We'll see you again soon.
Yeah. We'll be right back with what the #1 dog lover other than us here in the studio. You got Neal Portnoy of Portnoy Gallery. We're going to show you some of his work, dog-related, and of course, his wonderful wife, Dorothy's here. We're going to see if we can make her come up on set. She always says she's not going to, but then we drag her up anyway. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Crazy Terry here with your car care tip of the day. Today's tip's about tire maintenance, how to check a tire, how to fill it properly. Okay, so as we can see, we've got a low tire. We probably saw that a month ago and said we'll fill it, but like everything, we let a day go by. Next thing you know, we got a problem. Properly check a tire, remove the valve cover. Got a tire gauge, simply put it on there, and it'll read the pressure down at the bottom in PSI, pounds per square inch. We can see here that this is so low, it's barely reading. There's probably 10 pounds in it at best. So how do we properly inflate it? Well, we're going to need an air chuck. Go down to the local store or come by the shop. We'll use this tool to inflate it. And that sounds like that's all we need to do, but we need to know how much to inflate it to, because overinflated is just as bad as underinflated. We can look at the tire, and on here we're going to find a cold pressure rating rated in PSI, and it's going to say anywhere from 32 to 80 pounds depending on the vehicle. We'll want to find that so we know the maximum inflation cold. We're going to look until we find the load rating. And here we find the maximum PSI is 44 PSI, pounds per square inch cold. We don't want to fill it any more than that, but we don't want to underfill it either. We want to fill it to 44. So it seems like checking the air pressure is no big deal. It's not. It's really simple to do, but we want to make sure we got the correct pressure. How do we find that? Let me show you. We open the door and we locate the sticker. It's usually right here. It could be down on the lower rocker, but it's on the driver's side. And after we look around, we'll see right here it says 35 PSI. That's the pressure that the tire requires that was sold with the vehicle. But if you change the tires later to a high-performance tire, mud and snow or anything else, look at the cold pressure on the side of the tire to make sure you're properly inflated. This could be 35 today, but we get a performance tire, it's 44, 45, or even higher. We'll want to make sure we're inflating the tire properly. A couple of things you're going to need if you're checking your own tires: tire gauge and a rag, because you are going to get a little dirty. If you don't want to do that, I don't blame you. Bring it to the shop, we'll check it for you. We'll do a whole inspection on the vehicle if you like. We'll check the tires, make sure you're safe. This can save you a lot of time and keep you safe. Crazy Terry here with your car care tip of the day. Thanks a lot.
And we are back with Neal Portnoy and his wonderful wife, Dorothy of Portnoy Art Gallery. And here's the thing. They are big, huge dog lovers, and she is also an artist. He is the big guy who does all this incredible stuff. Now, when I say with Sharpies, there's the Sharpies that you buy at Walmart, and then there are the Sharpies that he uses. It's not quite the same thing, but his art is amazing. She also does this incredible work, the wine and sip events that you do at the gallery, where people can come in of all artistic levels and just create art and have a little wine on the side. I love the whole combination. It's just great. So let's start about the gallery. Your gallery, you've been in business now for how long? And it has just taken off.
45 years, but just under 3 years here. March will be 3 years in Las Vegas.
Right, yeah. The first time I saw your art, I thought it was paint. I couldn't get my head around it being done with a Sharpie at all.
I always tell people they're felt tip markers.
Right.
Easiest way to describe it, interchangeable nibs from fine point nib to a broad point nib. But everything I do is done with magic markers. And I tell people, look, you smell those for 10 minutes, you'll be just like me.
Right, it's exactly. And how did you get started? When did you come up with the idea of doing, what's the official title? Is Sip and Paints?
Sip, View, and Paint.
Sip, View, and Paint, right. Yeah.
Neal came up with that.
Well, you're sipping wine, you're viewing the artwork, and you're painting. It's a great combination.
What I love too about the way you put these events together is, like, for somebody like me who's a little intimidated, you know, what I do with my Sharpies is I just do big color swaths.
That's okay.
But you create these portraits that just come alive, and we're going to show some of the dog portraits, because you guys had sent me the artwork before the show, and then we were talking to Amy Clatterbuck from the Nugget Inn, and she recognized one of the dogs that you'd actually done Duke. Yeah, Duke from Urban Mutts.
Urban Underdogs.
Urban Underdogs, right.
And they go to the homeless and make sure that they're spayed, the dogs are in good health. Woman's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And she came to the gallery for the first time. We started talking. She said, I'd love to do Duke. I said, well, get me a good photo. And I got to tell you a story. Duke's a hound dog. So I've got this whole thing penciled up, right? I'm looking at it going, you know, I love dogs, but okay, she loves this thing. He's a hound dog.
He's not doing it for you, right?
Not doing it for me. But I've got it all penciled up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, this is a puzzle. Because it's all penciled first. And I'm looking at it, and everything for me is shapes. I don't look at eyes when I draw. I look at the shapes. Everything is a shape. And I'm starting to put the puzzle together, and I look over at Dorothy and said, I don't like it. I'm going to rip it up. Walk away. She goes, walk away from it.
All right.
And I have to do that on occasion, because you got to
get so into it, what you want it to look like.
What I do.
Right.
And I went back and I started getting into it, and all of a sudden this thing came alive.
Yeah.
Where the dog is actually talking to you.
Yeah.
And then you tell people it's magic markers. And they look at me
Unreal.
like, how did you do that with magic markers?
Yeah.
I don't know. I sit and draw.
And you have in your gallery, and I'm sure, you know, Dorothy takes people on tours, and the inspiration, like the first time I came for a tour, I had to take a break. I had to rest from each room, because I was just so taken by how vivid the images were, but then also how many celebrities that you guys have just hung out with in the short 3 years you've been here in Las Vegas.
We call it a gallery. Because the gallery word was available. I looked it up in the Funkin' Wag book, page 638. It's really a museum.
It really is.
It's 45 years of what I've done all over the country.
Yeah.
People have no idea what I do.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'll post on social media, or here's a caricature. You know, that new phrase in Vegas going around, have you been Portnoyed?
Yes,
that's the new term.
Right.
Which Mystic Mona, by the way, came up with the line. And, of course, I did a Portnoy for her. But they think all I do is caricatures.
Right.
It's 10% of what I do. And then they walk into the gallery, the museum, and they're seeing, you know, you were the official artist at the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Right.
You've done pieces for organizations that have raised almost $500,000.
Right.
Charitable kids organizations, which I'm involved with. And then I started getting into the pets. You know, I did my first cat. I'd never done it. And it's different because, you know, when I draw women, it takes longer. You got to do the hairdo.
Right.
Now I'm drawing fur-related items, which takes forever because I'm a perfectionist.
Sure.
I'm not just going to draw 4 lines. I want all 27 of them.
Right.
And they got to be in the right direction.
Right.
And the right color.
Yeah.
And it's a puzzle.
Now, of course, you live with the man, so you know what he can do. But when you saw your
Why
first,
did you
when
laugh
you were
when you said that? You live with the man. She laughed.
When you saw yourself Portnoyed for the first time, what did you think?
So every time I said, oh, I would like a caricature done of me, and he would say, no, I'm not drawing you. I'm like, why? He goes, you won't like it. You'll be upset. I don't want to draw you. And then for the quick sketch ones, right? And so finally one day he was doing an event and we were early, and he's like, I'll draw you now. So he did, and I loved my quick sketch caricature. And then he said, oh, I'm going to do one of the both of us, and that's the that's the real life looking face, and then the caricature body. And yeah, he gave me a little more, made my waist a little skinnier. So
I know. Like on mine, my boobs were so much bigger. I was like, well, they were already big enough, but I was like, oh, I'm loving that, because then he gave me a waistline, which I don't have.
It's a lot less coming to me than seeing the other guy.
Exactly.
So yeah, so it worked out good. I didn't get upset.
So how can somebody get Portnoy? What do they have to do?
Well, the whole process is everything I do is from reference photography.
Okay, what do you mean?
A good head and shoulders photo.
Okay.
The better the photo, the better the drawing. And then give me an activity. Are you a guitar player? Are you a singer? Are you a doctor, a nurse? You come up with the theme. You're the writer.
Right.
I'm the illustrator. And then we have a basic price structure for people to get done. We can make reproductions. A lot of times, somebody will say, I want my kids done. Well, you got grandparents, you got aunts and uncles.
Right.
So I'll make a high-resolution scan of the original drawing, which the client will own, and now we can send out to all the relatives reproductions of the original.
Fantastic.
Very simple.
Yeah.
You basically call the gallery.
Yeah.
702-685-2929. And call to come see the gallery.
You have to come in and see it first, because that's the thing. The one work I realized in kind of some history, I had been seeing Neal's work for the longest time. I didn't know it was him. I thought it was somebody else writing and doing articles. And then one day, out of the clear blue sky, Mystic Mona says, are you looking for some guests? It's like, I'm always looking for a good guest. She goes, you should interview Neal Portnoy. It's like, who's Neal Portnoy? So then I go online and go, oh my gosh, this is Neal Portnoy. I've been looking at your stuff, loving it.
You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
We go down every Wednesday night over to the Piazza Lounge at Tuscany.
Right.
Kelly Clinton Holmes and her band, and all of the entertainers, when their gigs end at 8 o'clock at night,
all go there.
They all go there, right?
Right. You can see Clint there, her hubby,
Clint's
all
there
the time.
Clint sits with us. We talk. I love both of them, and I love all of the entertainment here in Vegas. So I'm sitting there one day, and Bill Medley walks in.
No way.
From the Righteous Brothers.
Yeah.
And Bucky Hurd, who is the new part of the Righteous Brothers. Well, I'm friends with Bucky on social media. We've never really met, right? So I go up to him and say, Bucky, I'd like to introduce myself, Neal Portnoy. And he stops and goes, oh my God, I've been dying to meet. And I'm looking at him, you're the Righteous Brothers. What do you want to meet me for?
Right.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it.
You start getting used to it, but it's a weird feeling.
And you do so much of his social media, so you're out there, you're actually interacting with these folks who don't even realize that they're Neal's fans until you make that connection for them. Right. Yeah. How is that for you to realize, oh my gosh, my hubby has got this big, huge following out there that may not be aware of it, and then you also have your own following of people that you're bringing in because of your sip paint.
You and paint.
She runs the gallery.
Yeah, pretty much.
All I do.
You just show up and
I show up and draw. That's all I do now, which is wonderful.
What we do every day.
Yeah.
So I enjoy promoting him, and being by him,
and kudos to her too, because she came from the private sector. She worked in what's the term?
Municipal government.
Municipal government for a number of years. So when we decided to come to Vegas, we had never worked together. Now you're talking a married couple that live together. Now we're going to be 24/7, right? Wow. So in the initial stages, it was tough.
Yeah,
very
sure.
hard.
And not just tough for her, but tough for me, because I'm a control person. What are you doing? How come you did that? Right? Until I eased back, and she's really grown into the position where I have no problem. You tell me what you want to do. Let's get it done. She's running these events now, and for the longest time, she went to school as an art major.
Right.
But she would never say, would never say, I'm an artist. She's finally accepting the fact that she's got that ability. And it's not just an ability to paint, draw, whatever. She teaches at these sip, view, and paint classes. And let me tell you something. It is a great social event. Everybody walks away having painted 2 wine glasses, yacked for an hour and a half, and they love it, and they can't wait to come back.
Yes.
And they're surrounded by your art.
That's
I
what's
mean,
great
that's the
about it.
inspiration too.
That's what's great about it. All the creativity that happens, and a lot of them, everyone who comes, they're like, "This is great. I feel so. All of a sudden, I feel so creative sitting here among all this beautiful art."
Where'd the puppy go? Where'd that puppy go? I love that. I can't believe that puppy is still not adopted.
Right.
Let me tell you.
After the show will be gone, because she had such a big litter. They were
Well,
all
you know what?
little.
For the people out there watching us, let me tell you something. For the entire half hour that puppy was up here on the table, that tail never stopped.
No, so adorable.
Adorable markings, great temperament. Just kissed the hell out of me when, you know, I'm off set and I'm looking at him. You want me to hold him? You want me to hold him? I'll take him. Give him to me. Right?
And I was so excited because, like I said, I didn't look at the photos that you sent until right before the show.
Yep.
And I'm seeing all these dogs because for those of us who are just dog obsessed as you are, it is difficult. I paid a lot of money to photography to get professional shots done because my babies are so antsy. I couldn't get them to sit still long enough to take, you know, really cool shots. So I've got the portrait shots, and they're gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they just do amazing work. However, what I really wanted was something a little bit more avant-garde. I didn't want I got what I could get, but I didn't know that you were possible. That this was to have my dogs look just so, I don't know,
Neither did my parents think I was possible, but look what happened.
What's nice about it, and what we really love, is you come in, once you decide to commission Neal, you come in with your photos. Neal helps you pick out which one he thinks is going to be the best one, and he captures whether it's a pet or whether it's a person. He captures them, the eyes. He captures the little mood, just whatever that little thing is. And sometimes we don't know what that thing is.
Right.
But somehow Neal captures it.
I don't know either. I have no idea.
The best part is when they come in. And they have a vision in their head. You have a vision what it's going to be looking like, and they walk in and they're stunned and they're overwhelmed with how happy they are.
Right.
And he might say, "Well, it's okay," and I'm like, "It's good," you know. And then he's like, "Eh," and then, you know, because sometimes he doesn't know the person, so sometimes he can't feel it.
Yeah.
And they get it and they see it, and it's just
You know,
beautiful.
an interesting job came in. A woman sent me photos. She had 3 different dogs. She couldn't take them all together. She couldn't take a photo of all 3. I said, well, you don't have to have them together. Send me individual photos of the dogs. I'll put it together. And I did this really stunning illustration. One of the dogs was a pug. Do you know what the definition of a pug is?
No.
It's a dog that did a 60-yard dash in a 40-yard gym.
That's so sad.
But
he said it. I did not say it.
But it's
not
true.
put me up on social. I did not say it.
Listen, I've drawn, 2 or 3 pugs over the course of a few years. Very, very distinctive figure, but the nose is pushed in.
And you do cats too. I mean, this isn't just if you've got a pet and you love. You've got your bearded lizard. What do they call?
Those little dinosaurs.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. For folks who are, that's why I brought it up with Amy too. For those of us who are pet obsessed, not just dog obsessed, pet obsessed, we're always looking for that unique thing. Last year, Corey Taylor of Corey Taylor Talks and her mom Linda, they got me a Christmas ornament that looked exactly like Akira.
Like the Akita.
I haven't even hung it because I don't want them to break it. I need to just frame it.
Yes,
I know, right?
Let me tell you what we've got in the pipeline, so to
Please.
speak. I've now drawn a Yorkie, our Yorkie, a pug, a golden, a lab, a hound dog. What am I missing? I'm missing other dogs. But
Your shepherd.
I did a shepherd. We're going to have those reproduced with high-resolution scans on merchandise.
Fabulous.
Coffee mugs.
Yeah.
Like you said, Christmas ornaments.
Yes.
So I'm slowly building the line of different breeds.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I'm looking for a little
breeds
iteration.
are so popular that you're always going to find the border collies. They're everywhere. You're going to find German shepherds. There's not that much Akita stuff. There's not that much like Bichon Frise stuff. I mean, there are all these different breeds that if you go to the pet events, you simply don't see a cross section. And I understand. You can get a Labrador, anything,
They all generally look
when
alike.
the pugs become so popular, there's pug mugs everywhere.
And you know what it is? It's some movie star, some celebrity
Probably have one.
got the breed, and all of a sudden their fans all wanted the same breed that they had. Look at the Corgi. The Corgi was the Queen's dog. It still is the Queen's dog. Right. You know, and this Corgi I did had a I don't know if we're showing showing some of the we are showing some of the images. It's in its tile room, and I actually got the reflection on the tiles where it looks real. Oh, wow. How do I do it? I have no clue. Wow. To me, I don't look at anything other than shapes and how I can put those shapes together and then come alive. Right. It becomes personified.
Just really quickly, for those folks who have not watched your previous performances here on this show, how did you get started and become Neal Portnoy?
Well, I've always been Neal Portnoy. They gave me that name at birth. I looked for a different one. Actually, backwards it's
N-E-A-L.
Yeah, but actually backwards it's Lane Yontrop. For those who want to do the backwards thing. I was a baseball player. That was my past career. I grew up in a very poor household, lost a parent at a very early age, my other parent at another early age. My escape from my situation was the athletic ability that I had. And I played 2 years minor league ball, coached college baseball as a pitching instructor for 15 years. This is no different in what I do, what I used to teach the kids. Ability you're born with. I can't make you Ted Williams and Cy Young. Right. You will learn technique. Right. And you enhance that technique with repetition, practice, practice, practice. I have no formal training. It's an ability I was born with.
So you were doodling.
Always.
You had an injury, and then somebody in your family said, hey, Neal, you might want to take your doodles and make some money.
You can make money with that. I did my first show. It was called the Londonderry Fair in Londonderry, New Hampshire. It was a 3-day during the holiday. You know, set up your little booth and do black and white Sharpie caricatures, and I made $300 a day, and I went, whoa, I guess I can do this.
Wow.
And then my connections in the sports industry kind of moved me to do a lot of the sports artwork. The colleges would do athletic media guides and game programs for their football, basketball programs, Hall of Fame, senior awards. That kind of gave me my little in. I started getting a name for myself. And then 3 years ago, we're sitting back in Massachusetts, where we're from. Dorothy's originally from New York. And I looked at her, I said, book a flight to Vegas. And she looked, where the hell did that come from? I said, you know what? It's the entertainment capital of the world. Sure. What do I do? It's what I do. Let's give it a shot. We came out here 3 years ago, didn't know anybody. Yeah. And now people come up to us and go, how the hell do you know everybody?
I know, right?
And I look at them and I tell you, let me tell you something that's not important. What's important is that they know me. Right. Because there's going to be some time in their lifetime they're going to want me to do something. They know somebody that might be able to use me. All about networking.
One of the things that is you guys, I think maybe as newcomers too, you got the pulse of the Valley so accurately. The work that you've already done with the Vegas Golden Knights, beautiful stuff at the gallery.
Yeah, I tried to reach out to the Golden Knights, you know, new franchise. Here's what happens, and I get it because I've been in that industry. Even though you're a new franchise, you're coming from other organizations where you've already built relationships. Sure. You're more apt to go to the relationships you already have rather than, hey, there's a guy local who does this unbelievable stuff. Hasn't happened yet. You know, I was the illustrator at the RJ for 16 months. Right. I was published 197 times with national recognition. Sure. They made a decision to go a different direction. I totally get it. But I did a couple pieces on the Golden Knights. Right. Their inaugural game was the front page of Sports, my artwork. Yeah. I did Coach Gallant and 4 of the players. And then I created a piece for the gallery called Golden Knights. And it featured 14 of the players during the Stanley Cup run. And then we have prints which we sell in the gallery. So, I mean, iDrawPeople.com is the website. Just go to iDrawPeople.com. You'll see everything we do.
Right. And that's part of one of the great things about when I'm sitting at home, I'm wondering, everyone else is having so much fun but me. To really make yourself feel bad, go on their social and find out they are everywhere. And what I love about that, though, too, is this is an opportunity. They know where, the Tuscany is also, that's just a,
I love it.
There all the time. Where you go are the places where a lot of our local entertainers go, and people don't recognize that, our entertainers, they're real people, too. And they go and they support each other's shows.
And if you treat them just like normal, real people, they are much more apt to accept you into their world, which they've done to Dorothy and myself. I don't look at them as Clint Holmes, Frankie Shinta, Murray Sawchuk. I look at them, they're entertainers. I'm an entertainer. How can we work together?
We're all hanging out together.
We're all hanging out. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
So what's the thing you love most about Las Vegas in these 3 years you've been here? So
a lot of the things. The weather. Fun. Everyone says, "Oh, it's so hot." I love the summer. I mean, it gets hot, but you have your pool. You need a pool.
Right.
So it's great. And the people.
Yeah.
We've made more friends.
We actually met someone that said, be careful. The people here, they're very unfriendly, and watch your back. And we have had the best experience ever meeting such wonderful people. It's just really nice.
And I was always, when I first met you, I was so gratified to hear that, because I had to go through a shift. Growing up here, of course, I've always had my circle of family and friends. So to me, it's like, when I hear people say it's hard to meet people, it's like, no, it's not. But then I realized that it's the attitude people bring when they come here. If you think it's hard to meet people, then it is. But for those of us who've grown up here, no, it's our norm. We're always meeting new people.
I feel
that's the nature of Vegas.
Didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
When you move to a new town, and the people have been there for a long time. Like when I moved to Massachusetts, I was a single mom, and I moved there. It was really hard to make friends. They looked at you like, who are you? And my kids weren't little, where they were in school, where they were making friends, and I'd make friends with their parents. So that was really hard. So the whole time I was there for almost 20 years, and I never had a real best friend. And then when I moved here, it's like a college town because it's so transient. So people come and go. So people are, when we were newbies, we're not really newbies anymore because we're meeting people who have been here a month or 5 months, and we're like, you're new. And they just are in our group.
Well, we're out of time for this show.
Oh, I got to share one more thing.
No, we got to go because John's over there going, you're out of time, you're out of time. But here's the cool thing. Go on their website, Neal Portnoy Gallery, and you can go and hang out there and get to meet all of their new friends and family and get to become friends with them, because trust me, they are like 16 degrees of however many separation. They know everybody and their mama. Go down there and see their artwork, see what's possible. The pet lovers, pet parents, go down and you can buy really cool stuff for us. So go down, explore the gallery for yourself, and see the tremendous work that these two people do, and welcome them to Las Vegas. We welcome you to always join us here on Live Las Vegas with Rikki Cheese. Have a great holiday season. We'll be back with more holiday tips next time.